Um, a few people might still filter in, but we'll go ahead and get started with the reading. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 5th installment of Debut Revue, an online reading series dedicated to promoting and celebrating by the pandemic. For our end of the year event, we're celebrating live with 11 incredible pre-pandemic poets from various presses. This event was generously co-curated by Anthony Cody, Maya Phillips, Maya C. Popa, and Kelly Grace Thomas. We are really excited to hear from all these incredible poets, as well as from the poets that our guest curators have invited. I'll briefly introduce myself first. My name is Jian Yun, one of the co-founders and also a debut poet with the University of Nebraska Press.
Thank you so much, Yoon. I'm the other co-founder. My name is Emma Hine, and I'm also a debut poet with Sarah Band Books. And today we have Kelly Grace Thomas, Jorrell Watkins, Julia Kolchinsky Dasbach, Maya Phillips, Aria Aber, Maya C. Popa, Edgar Kunz, Tommye Blount, Anthony Cody, Jennifer Soong, and Leah Huizar here with us. And we're just so grateful to all of you for joining us. For everyone in the audience, please consider buying these authors' books via their publishers, an independent bookstore, or via our bookshop affiliate page, all of which will be linked in the chat. And speaking of the chat, we encourage you to be really active. Please tell us what lines you like, tell us what you're drinking, tell us what other debut collections you've recently loved. We're so grateful to everyone tuning in, and we can't wait to get started. Before we do, just one bit of housekeeping. We are accepting donations in order to help continuing our programming in 2021. So if you're able to help out, there's a link below, but zero pressure. And thank you again for joining us.
All right, so we're gonna move right into the reading, and I'm super excited to welcome our first guest curator. Please join me in welcoming our first reader, Kelly Grace Thomas, whose work I've been completely obsessed with since reading Boat Burned for the first time. Kelly is the winner of the 2017 Neil Postman Award for Metaphor from Rattle, and a 2-time Pushcart Prize nominee, and a Best of the Net nominee. Boat Burned, her debut collection, is forthcoming from Yes Yes Books. Scratch that, it's out. Kelly's poems have appeared or are forthcoming in the Los Angeles Review, Tinderbox, Nashville Review, The Boiler, Sixth Finch, Muzzle, Rattle, and many, many more. Kelly was also a 2016 fellow for the Kenyon Review Young Writers Workshop. About Boat Burned, Tiana Clark has said, "This gorgeous debut is a sustained symphonic metaphor on what we carry in our vessels, all the damage and joy, inherited and otherwise, sailing and sinking and singeing through magnificent verse." I honestly couldn't agree more. Please welcome Kelly.
Oh my gosh, thank you everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I have been looking forward to this for a really long time, and I'm just like so grateful to the Debut Revue for all of the work they're doing to lift up others. I'm so grateful for the company and these other poets who inspire me daily and push me to be a better writer as I pour over your words. So I'm gonna read 2 poems today. A little backstory about the first is, when I was younger, my family went through bankruptcy, and we sailed from New Jersey to Florida with kind of the only possession my family had left, which was this boat. So the first poem that I'm gonna read is a sestina, and it's called Replay. It started with silence. The coastline ate through me, salt or song spilled into this sail. I try to write an honest goodbye, stanzas splintered like or father. For 30 days we sailed together, apart, shoved inside, I swallowed storm, a part of me that never knew water, just a body. Silence craves any word for God besides Father. The deeper I drink, the heavier the song. Now the ocean only means goodbye, a patchwork of stanzas and troubled sails. I warn myself, don't write about family. I whisper, sail away, let childhood drift apart, but a sailboat is the slowest goodbye. A leaked, lonely, the four of us in our cities of silence. I've scribbled small mutinies, my words, wait, water, bloated, a song. I release the anchor lines of mother, daughter, sister, father. The ocean must miss someone too. Father, did you know that this sailboat would turn throat a rusted, ready song? These dirges I can still smell in the dark, a part of home that won't stop sinking, and this silence. How many times will I frame this goodbye? Please believe me, I only wanted to be good. By now, I've sacrificed the many names for father or family. I gulped these ships of silence. I was raised like a sail, pulled like a sheet, fraying apart our history, reeking with song. Mother swears, this is not a sad song. These things happen. My pages or years, too long a goodbye. My hands are itchy to ache, a part of every landscape I pen, lonely, the only wound I can father. Every line I write luffs like a sail. They ask, what happened? I sink with silence. I song the sometimes. Every time a man walks out, I call him father. Goodbye, a hungry seagull that won't stop cawing my name. The sail, like the story, is filthy with holes. Silence, another kind of wind. And then the second poem is for my husband, Omid. Thank you. Thanks for listening. It's for my husband, Omid. We used to live in LA and we moved to a suburb of the East Bay that looked a lot different from LA. So this poem is about that. It's called Small Things. The webs of Walnut Creek are all spun white. In our new town, I notice each grocery store glare, sticky stares follow Omid down each aisle. Still, my love keeps quiet hands, wears kindness like salt and pepper, stubble. I study him as he hums to houseplants. It's been hard for me to learn a love so gentle, to believe him when he chants me close, hushes, gorgeous, until I fall asleep in the morning. He scrambles eggs, spatula in hand. He spots the lonely daddy long legs in a quiet corner. The wall weaver, nestled next to light, he says, needing a home is such a small thing to be forgiven for. He lets the delicate geometry stay. I am slow to learn how to handle a living thing. I study Omid as he smiles at spiders. I ask him how. His speech soft as saffron, breath a net I lean against. He tells me he's been called a terrorist more times than he can count. His answer, save something smaller. Call each a guest, leave all doors open. Just because the world has called something poison, he says, doesn't mean we kill it. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I'm so excited to introduce my two attendees, and I'm gonna read their bios because they did that shit. And I think we gotta celebrate that out loud. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. My first invitee, I'm so excited, is Jorrell Watkins, an educator, writer, and martial artist from Richmond, Virginia. He is a 2020-2021 Fulbright Grant Award recipient from Japan, an alum of Hampshire College and the University of Iowa Writers Workshop. He has received awards from VQR Writers Conference, Echo Theater Company, and a fellowship from the Association of University Centers on Disabilities and Smithsonian Institution. His disability inclusive play, Meet Us at the Horizon, was produced by Combined Efforts Co. for 2019 world premiere. Shout out. His chapbook, If Only the Sharks Would Bite, was selected by Amy Nizuka Matalo as the winner of the inaugural Desert Pavilion chapbook series and poetry. His poetry is published in Obsidian, Diode, Juke Joint Magazine, and elsewhere. Find him on social media at Brother Jamal and jamalwatkins.com. And I'm just gonna say a sentence or two. I don't want to take up so much time, but yeah, I met Jorrell and Virginia, and I was just blown away by your talent and your humanity, and your poetry was like, poof. And then you were like, oh, I'm actually really a playwright. I'm just like playing around with this poetry. And I was like, who is this kid? So anyway, please welcome Jorrell Watkins.
Word. Thank you so much, Kelly, for the introduction and the energy. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll read 3 poems from If Only the Sharks Would Bite, and the first poem is entitled Scout. At 12 years old, I faced my pop's clippers. Blue Magic pomade, alcohol, and wave brush. Shirt off, b-ball shorts, and Walmart slippers. Mama's hand mirror and flat pineapple crush. I've seen pops do this enough to wield his lore. Against the grain, front to back, side to side, again and again until the scalp is seashore. Salt and dandruff washed up by the blade's tie. In Pop's grip, a hypnotized shark hacks hair off. In just the groove of oil and curls, without pause, in my palm, the somnambulic creature halts in and out of current. I'm caught in sopping jaws. Mama won't look at me if I'm his spitting image. With my cut, nobody will know me once I'm finished. The next poem is entitled His Gums. My mama sold her food stamps. I'm on my own for supper. My mama sold her food stamps. I'm on my own for supper. My hunger's so big, it wants a body of its own. I'm selling my school bus pass so I can get a bite. Yeah, I'm selling my school bus pass so I can get a bite. Bruh, my hunger's so big, it need a body of its own. I want to stop by Mickey D's and get me something. Yeah, I'm going to stop by Mickey D's and get me something. Dang, my hunger's so big, it got a body of its own. Ain't no food at home, my head is gone. Ain't no food at home, my head is gone. My hunger's so big, it made my body its own. Is that a scrap of Big Mac wrapper? The gooey cheese corner, a tiny tongue, waved at me asking if I'm still hungry. Who am I to deny the slither of bologna from school lunch resting on my gums? Am I crazy to think no one will see me if I don't make too much noise? But I'm loving it. I'm loving them 10-piece chicken nuggets, look just like rubber ducklings and honey mustard. I'm loving them shoestring french fries, new item on the menu, fish fillet sandwich, switch it up with the McRib. Extra napkins, please. I'm too old for a bib, too young to know the way I live. Feels like death to somebody, too naive to believe that some nobody might want to cry the litter that died from mouth saliva dripping from when he bit it. What's a 5-second rule to a 1-sec bite? What's a $5 meal to $5 bills? What's a 5-finger discount to refuse? Ain't nothing on my gums no more. My tongue done toothpick each crevice. I said this before. And I'm crazy that they no one will see me if I don't make noise. I have a 14-year-old stomach that wants to eat past 3 o'clock. Can't survive 15 hours without grinding my teeth until I shred my gums. The way sharks make the ocean taste their slaughter. The way I'm chewing on nails. My mouth has always been raw. I'm hungry. I will not let you hear this again. And I went in with the poem entitled Navel. Mama gets a tummy tuck. Sugar, it's called gastric bypass. Doctors remove her guts and suck up the fat. They sew her flat as they did when I was born. Where a navel should be, there's a jack-o'-lantern scar. Mama is 180 pounds slimmer. She fries chicken gizzards for dinner. She can only eat a little. Mama is happiest when we all were full. An article from The Sun claims life expectancy and personality can be determined by the navel shape. I unravel my clothes and expose my belly. Dark as the well, my navel tells me, you big heart, quiet and shy. Mama, I might live 81 years. Mama, will I still be connected to you? Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jorrell. That was awesome. The way sharks make the ocean taste their slaughter. Yeah, I'm not going to forget that for a very long time. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. It is an incredible honor to introduce the next reader, Julia Kolchinsky Dasbach, emigrated from Ukraine as a Jewish refugee when she was 6 years old. She is the author of 3 poetry collections: The Many Names for Mother, winner of the Wick Poetry Prize for Kent State University Press 2019, the finalist for the Jewish Book Award, Don't Touch the Bones, Lost Horse Press 2020, winner of the 2019 Idaho Poetry Prize, and 40 Weeks, forthcoming from Yes Yes Books in 2023. Her recent poems appear in Poetry, American Poetry Review, and The Nation, among others. Julia is the editor of Construction Magazine. She holds an MFA from the University of Oregon and is completing her PhD at the University of Pennsylvania. She lives in Philly with her 2 kids, 2 cats, 1 dog, 1 husband, and please buy both Julia and Jorrell's book. Julia and I became internet poem besties by being published in the same issue, and our lifelong goal was to be pressmates with one another, to just like scheme and dream, and we have finally figured it out, and I celebrate her and her luminescence every single day. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you, dear Kelly. Thank you, everyone. So humbled to be among you all. And I'm going to read a bunch of poems about luminescence and light and the moon. And so I'm going to read 2 from The Many Names for Mother, and then 1 from my 2020 book that just, came out in March. So it hasn't seen the light of day at all. And it's a Hanukkah poem. So I got to bring that in. This is The Moon is Showing. The moon is showing her naked butt side as I walk home, asking what is poetic about the moon or back. The hung open sky is everything and nothing like moon or body, because it's always poetry when you say moon or body. And when you say but, the music splits inside, and the moon broke so long ago, we've forgotten. So why is there a pleasure in the wronging and the being wronged? The toughness in my great-grandmother's tongue was like 2 moons once, avocado and its seed, swallowing generations to bear more broken moons. And when my love grabs my ass so hard, I think I feel the place where once I carried life. I can't help looking to the sky, mouth waxing, body both the crater and the rock, body both the birth and birthing, body, because when I say my enough, my body enough, possession realigns. When I say my body, my body, I hear my babas who told me your behind is dirty, told me poetry is clean and shining and not about the body, told me yours is not one others should touch, and touch is everything, and touch is love, and touch is what the moon is made of. So when my love touches my ass, and I admit I like it, the shame of it, the dark side and the light, shame the waxing reach, shame the opening and everything it carries, life and shit inside of life. And when my son came out of me, they feared he had already taken a shit inside. But the first thing to emerge was not a scream. The first from his 2 tiny showing butt sides was shining. Black coal, a stone, a poem, a body, a brazen new moon out of the old. And here's another moon poem, because we all write about the moon compulsively and obsessively. In everything he finds the moon. Yuna, he calls, pointing up and drawing out the U, the Russian L, still too hard to form Luna. We understand make meaning out of what it's left us. Yuna on the shoulder of my shirt, where his sleeping mouth, sweat outline left imperfect waning. Yuna in the fabric covering my belly, where his fingers shone like moonlight. Yuna on the wings of every moth or butterfly. Yuna, more Yuna, our cat's eyes twinkling in darkness, spinning spheres he is still too slow to catch. My Yuna, in daylight's glare, he names the sun as his, asks it to move closer and opens wide, to hug, to swallow, to hold its unfathomable glow. And in the water too, in any water, Yuna, Yuna, bath, puddle, lake, sea, ocean, rain, our faces and the light, a river, and in the window, any window, especially a stranger's, Yuna. This December morning, through smoking sky and a cobweb of trees, he finds it there, even as it fades. And in my pocket, I find it too, Yuna, an envelope of his first trimmed crescent hairs. So many fallen moons. And I'm just gonna end with one really quick Hanukkah poem from Don't Touch the Bones that I read to my family last night as we reminisced how we couldn't celebrate Hanukkah back in the Soviet Union. So this is for Licht, which means light in Yiddish. For Licht in Soviet winter. The first time I got coins, my father made me keep it secret, made me choose a chocolate gift and take my time with choosing how to keep it secret from the store clerk and my mother, who took her time with choosing which candles wouldn't glow bright enough for the store clerk to know the origin of light came from our candles' glow behind dish towel curtains. The first time I got coins, my father believed in something then, choosing a chocolate gift to teach me the secret origin of light. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Julia and Jorrell, and to Kelly for putting this part of our reading together. We're just so thankful to you. And we hope everyone will buy their books and celebrate these books. Congratulations to all three of you. It's now my honor to introduce our next guest curator, who is a pressmate of mine and someone I've admired for a long time. She's a really amazing poet and literary citizen. Maya C. Popa is the author of American Faith, which was published in the winter of 2019 and is the winner of the 2020 North American Book Prize. She's also the author of 2 chapbooks, You Always Wished the Animals Would Leave, and The Bees Have Been Canceled, which are 2 amazing titles. Maya is the Poetry Revue's editor at Publishers Weekly. She teaches poetry at NYU, and she's the director of creative writing at the Nightingale Bamford School. And I especially love what Leah Kunz has said about her work. How does Popa do this? How does she find that keyhole through which the ordinary becomes poetry, becomes a terrifying and unsettling lyric hymn? I feel like that sums it up, and I'm excited that you all get to hear her work now. So thank you so much, Maya, for both bringing your own poetry and your curation to this event.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma. You are also an amazing literary citizen. I also admire you very much and feel deeply, deeply thrilled to be a pressmate of yours. Emma is highly modest, but her book, which is forthcoming, is an absolute jewel. So I'm really excited for all of us to get to read your book. I'm going to be brief because I have 2 unbelievable guests who I'm so thrilled agreed to read this evening. So I'll just read 2 poems from American Faith. I'll start with the title poem because it's sort of fun to get to read this one under recent circumstances, and you'll see why. American Faith. In Buddhism, difficult people are thought to be a gift. This explains why I am not a Buddhist. I love the glib, slick farce of hard-heartedness, though I've held my human head in my human hands so it would not succumb to language. It was Earth that taught me names for all the planets, how to look at an angle for the hummingbird, dark satellite of sugar in the blossom's mouth. I could picture that vast absence of us, moons spinning coolly in unscripted pasts. But when I try to imagine our president, understanding imagination is the basis of all faith, I suffocate on hatred's loneliness. I can't stand the unity of my own hands, how no part leads the writing of a word. But this, too, is no faith that can be held, scalds without tributary purpose. Like something held to the light by its edges, I see the long years ahead of me, full of the voices of friends, children's children. I want a kind of betterness, want it desperately. Is that faith? While the days, impatient, fresh beasts appeal to me, you are here now. You must believe in something. And the last poem I'll read comes from a series of poems in the books called Blank Has Been Canceled. So this poem's called The Bees Have Been Canceled. And I wrote these poems sometime in 2013, 2014. So, you know, when people ask me, is this about cancel culture? It's not. I'd probably, you know, be much cooler had I anticipated that would enter public idiom. That's not how I was using them. I was sort of thinking about the way that we use the term canceled sort of lightly and glibly and, you know, again, canceling things that cannot be removed. So some of the cancellations in here are figurative and some are physical, and the bees, of course, are facing, you know, catastrophic environmental destruction and are dwindling in number. So pleased that I could offer two really uplifting poems. The bees have been canceled. Never again the humming saddled flowers. Never the blind oath by a velveteen prisoner. Never the yellow hula hooped in black little engine left running late into the darkness. Oh, how they were charming, clever monographs. Sunlight couldn't save them from the angel of extinction. Virgil said they swell with nectar's tilted knowledge. I don't know what to believe. Maybe they tired of being addicts, clover honey, garbage honey, accidental ice cream honey, ransomed stamen, sweet sinful, will do anything for honey. Maybe they caught fevers at midnight with no one there to hold their stingers, no fat queen to press a cold compress. How will we currency honey from wildflowers, that liquid of languages? How pollinate in the bees' electrostatic absence? How will the bellbirds take it, the Canterbury birds? Who will cast the last skeleton in amber? I'll miss the noise, the palimpsestic clamor, soft shock of discovering a hive under your roof. The lull as each integer walked its body over a blossom, then flew away with its instructions. Thank you so much for listening. It is my sincerest honor to introduce Edgar, who is the author of Tap Out, which was a New York Times new and noteworthy book. He's originally from New England. He lives in Baltimore, where he teaches at Goucher College and in the low residency program at Newport in the MFA. He has received fellowships and awards from pretty much everywhere you dream to receive a fellowship or award: the National Endowment of the Arts, MacDowell, Breadloaf, Swanee, and Stanford University, where he was a Wallace Stegner Fellow. He's working, I was delighted to find out this evening, on a book of poems about love and late capitalism. Edgar's debut was one of the first books that came across my desk at PW, and I think I read it in one sitting and then went back and read it in another sitting. It mesmerized me with its keenly imagined sense of place, and I can't tell you how excited I am to read the next book as soon as it's ready. Maybe you can give me a preview. Please welcome Edgar Kunz.
Thanks so much, Maya. Super, super generous. thanks to the organizers of this event, thanks to all my fellow poets. I, like a lot of you, probably have been feeling super isolated. So spaces like this are even more welcoming and lovely than they were before. Really happy to be here. I'm gonna read maybe 3 poems from the book. This first poem is called Graduation. As we all know, our obsessions reveal themselves to us as we're writing the poems. And one of my obsessions in this book was my dad, who then died 2 years ago now, after the book had, well before the book had come out. But I had written a lot of these poems, years and years before that. And so this poem sort of, reminds me that grieving can happen way before the loss actually happens. This poem's called Graduation. When you showed up drunk as hell, humming tunelessly to yourself and slumped against the auditorium's full wood paneling. When you fumbled in the pockets of your coat, fished out a cigarette, brought it to your lips, then realizing for the first time where you were, tossed it away and said, fuck it, loud enough that everyone turned in their seats and a friend elbowed me and asked if I knew you. I shook my head and spent the next hour wondering why I was so glad you came. You who slept each night in your battered van, who skipped meetings and lied to your sponsor, who still called your ex-wife every day, restraining order be damned. You shouldn't have been there either. 100 yards was the agreement after you gathered all the meds in the house into a shoebox and threatened to take them. You had come regardless. You were there, and I was there. And when I walked the stage, you hollered my name with a kind of wild conviction, then said it a second time, less convinced. And I thought of that night when the cops came and you, unashamed of the fuss you caused, of your desperate public struggle for happiness, kissed me on the head once, twice, and went quietly. There's a poem kind of late in the book that now seems like it's about coronavirus isolation. It's not, obviously, but I figured I'd read it because it's tapping into the same kind of, emotional landscape that I'm in now. It's called Farm Sitting. Most days the same with minor variations. Flat blue of the 5 a.m. kitchen, 2 scoops of feed in a plastic bucket, a small bowl of yogurt and an hour stacking what the ice brought down overnight. I was happy. I slept in their bed. I read the mysteries on their shelves, always something precious gone, someone hot on the trail. I walked in borrowed boots across the frozen pasture and back each morning the feed, the spigot, the horse dragging its bulk against the stall. I'd walk out nights and stand on the same trampled spot in the yard and listen to the cold stirring in the cheatgrass. Dull glow of a town on the horizon, hiss of snow. I'd lie in their bed under 3 heavy cotton blankets and worry about the horse and the dwindling supplies. It was a life, and it was not mine. To sleep, I imagined the great slabs of granite buried slantwise in the hills. To sleep, I counted the measures ticked out in the porcelain tub, slow drip to keep the pipes from freezing. And this is the last poem I'll read. Thanks again for being here. What a pleasure. This one is called Salvage, and it's a poem. I realized late in the book writing process that my dad gets a lot of airtime in the book, and I was like, man, my mom doesn't get any respect. So I decided to write my mom a poem, and this is what I wrote for her. It starts with a list of stupid jobs that I've had, things I've done for money. Salvage. Still somewhere in me the summer spent driving steel into the wet earth, heft and swing of the mattock, my blistered hands, black flies rising like steam. The tables I served, the law firms I hustled from one zip line to another, Classroom where I taught economics to the medicated kids of bus drivers and stevedores. Swept clean boulevards of the city that paid me to snap a picture of every downtown business, jot the names and hours in a spiral-bound book. Somewhere in me, the failed industrial towns of New England, with their posh English names, Weymouth, Bridgeport, Lowell, Worcester, their dead cars, their factories and silk mills converted and upsold to commuters. Somewhere, the third floor walk-up we lived in longest. Cracked plaster and single pane, plastic paneling painted to look like real wood, and my stepmother, my real mom, bending over the glossy stack of Star Market mailers, hands thin, approximate, bright scars on the backs of her wrists where the surgeries didn't take. And me, problem kid with a mushroom cut and his shirt tucked into his sweats, clipping the $offs, the half-offs, the buy one, get ones, the buy one, get twos, the store issued doublers shoulder to shoulder on the kitchen floor, and the afternoon stretching on into no kind of heaven I could have understood then, of peeling linoleum and the drone of interstate traffic, of WIC checks, name brand knockoffs, the gray stamps card made to pass as a regular visa, where we are allowed to know exactly what we can have and keep and what it will cost. Thanks, Al.
Those last lines kill me. Have and keep and what it will cost. Damn. Thank you. That was gorgeous and such a pleasure to hear you read again, Edgar. So our next reader is, again, Tommye Blount, another, I'm so honored that he agreed to do this, was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. He holds an MFA from Warren Wilson College and is the author of Fantasia for the Man in Blue, published by Four-Way in 2020. And let us please give another round of applause for the fact that this book is a finalist, was finalist for the National Book Award. Huge, 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 amazing congratulations. Super cool for a debut. And the chapbook, What Are We Not For, which was published by Bull City Press in 2016. He is a Cave Canem Fellow and he lives in Detroit. I think you're in Detroit now, although I think you may, do you usually live in Detroit? I don't wanna.
I'm in a suburb of Detroit. I only say Detroit because it's easier because no one knows where nobody is, so.
Okay, Novi. Novi, suburb of Detroit. His book is brilliant, as you will hear. It's a performance on the page and an absolute delight to hear read out loud. I'm so excited for all of you to get to hear Tommye read his work.
Thank you, Maya, for inviting me. Yeah, it's an honor, so thank you. And thank you for pairing me with Edgar and, you know, all of this great company. It's so amazing. And thank you, Debut Revue, for putting this together too. This is really, yeah, it's a godsend. I think I'm just gonna, okay, I'll read one, maybe two poems. I changed at the last minute, so. So I'll be reading a poem called Blood Harmony, and I wrote it after a scene from the film Jorrell, after Jean Genet's novel Jorrell of Brest. And it's a specific scene in which, you know, our hero Jorrell, he is involved in a fight with his lover who looks like his brother. And so I was quite fascinated with, well, I am quite fascinated with this sort of thin line between brotherhood and lovers. And so, Blood Harmony. This will be anything but beautiful. Blade buried in us bloodshed, or rather the need for it in all the ways we, I'm told, should crave love too. To loathe heir of my father's blood is the matter of sentience. I know I am meant to love you, yet can the salt of our blood serum be the elixir to break this fever of rage, this kissing of fists? Are we not at war over my body its dominion, which men may stroke my arm and which cannot. Here is my mouth. Give me the sweet ache of your knuckles. Let's unravel our mouths in the most dangerous song of fraternity. Fill our ears with nothing except each other, with scales for which our bodies together are the only capable instrument, a fine instrument of brutality, a double-minded man of muscled rage, reluctant tenderness. We dance around that which we are only brave enough to signal with our blades bright and short lyric, skilled as we are in the blood bother of this evasion. We mean only to stifle the air of one another momentarily, to be sensed as if we matter to the other, to be reviled, only to be revealed at last, relieved of this anger's load. Now we have locked hands. Joined is your right to my left. Do we mean to harm with this one fist? It kisses no mouth. It promises only to break open our desire to be touched and consoled in a way only a brother's hand can. Brought here by the blood deed of brothers, I can't turn away in cowardice or shame from your need to prove the point of your blade's sentiment for a body's revision. You and your consort, this sharp-tongued brother, mean to break me, lathe me down with its lipless kiss into the brother you wish you'd inherited. By the blade's argument, I am to be nobody or a new body, a new brother pulled from harm's kiln. Isn't that the glory of wounds and the breakage of bones? Their eagerness, I mean, to heal. What has harmed before becomes a science of fear, the body postured awkwardly in its attempt to avoid the same old errors, old behaviors. Go on then. School me on what blood is for. Yet know my blade too has its claims on your body's hagiography. Now it wants to question a tree down your face, to mark your beauty. At the center of love is always buried a blade's head. I will do one. Yeah, I'll do one more quick one. So the name of the book is Fantasia for the Man. Thank you. The name of the book is Fantasia for the Man in Blue, and there's different iterations of the Man in Blue, and one of them is Luther Vandross, and I will end with The Hunger of Luther Vandross. Who is my man in blues, rhythm and blues. Honey, what would a thinner man know of hunger? I mean to be forever, for always in hunger. When my stomach has had enough, when my body goes quiet, I let my mouth take over. It's a calling, this hunger to sing for a love I'm too ashamed to want for myself. So I practice. The pitch has to be right to sing the hunger of other lovers, a take on a take, a rendition no one has heard before. With this voice, I wed the lives of others. A hunger to set the mood. I make them turn the lights off, turn them on. A gift, this first instrument of hunger, this tenor. I can feel it in my body, all 300 pounds of me. You're never lonely when you're a man who knows hunger like I do, as big as two men holding on so tight that you would think there is only one. There are two of me, both of us hungry for the stage. Look at how the spotlight searches for me. It can't keep up. They chant my name, want more of me. Who am I to let them starve? Thank you all so much for listening and being here.
Thank you so much, Tommye. Who am I to let them starve? And to Edgar and to Maya, thank you, all three of you. And please, everyone, take a look at their debut collections. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our next guest curator. And full disclosure, she is one of my dearest friends and she's had a very big week. Maya Phillips is, as of this week, a critic at large at the New York Times, where she covers movies, theater, television, and all things arts related. So keep an eye out for her arts journalism. She's also the author of the poetry collection Eru, which was published by Four Way Books in the fall of 2019. It was a finalist for the Penn Open Book Award and winner of the 2019 Balcones Poetry Prize and the 2020 Poetry by the Sea Book Award. And her next book, Nerd, is forthcoming from Atria Books in summer 2022. Terrence Hayes says, the poetry of Maya Phillips is full of unforgettable imagery, wordplay, and candor. She writes with a clarity that can cut as quickly as it calms. Her poetry is incredible. I'm so grateful to have her here. Welcome, Maya.
Thanks, Emma. It's good to see you. For those of you who don't know, me and Emma are really close friends, and what she neglected to say was that she actually is one of the people who really helped Eru make Eru what it is. She read one of the very early drafts of it and really helped me with these poems. So she's a brilliant curator and also a brilliant friend and editor. So that's a lot of compliments. I don't usually do that. I do love you though, Emma. So I'm gonna read 3 poems from Eru. And I wrote the book mainly about my father's death. It's been 6 years now. So some dead poems. Ode to my father's failed heart. It's okay. I too have failed at the expected, have sputtered and choked like a rusty valve in water, have jumped into the pool only to sink. Little engine, your flawed machinery is nothing like love. You limp at last call to the dance floor, but feel no shame in your offbeat 2-step, your 11th hour shuffle in a dead man's shoes. There's nothing left but the encore. So go ahead, relax, unravel like a loosened knot. Overripe fruit in his chest, you blush with uncertainty. Bruise yourself tender, little heart, tiny treasure, sweetened to the point of spoil. I'm gonna read, that poem has a companion poem, Ode to My Father's Failed Kidney. And it's kind of weird to be thinking about these poems because I kind of have an obsession, like a lot of poets do, with the body. And thinking what that means, like the absence of the body when you encounter a loss. And obviously that's something we're all encountering right now in the world. So it's weird to think about that on a personal level and also a global level right now. So, Ode to My Father's Failed Kidney. It's a question of impurity, like how a lie will live in the body years after it's told, but the body is its own remedy. It will always recover. Though, if it's a question of purity, it's also a question of sanitation, isn't it? You're a type of spring cleaning. Here in the body, there's always something ready to bloom. Did you know, if one acts quickly after a snake bite, they can suck the poison out of the wound? I lied when I said always. I lied when I said you could suck the poison out. After all, you would know best. The blood holds on to every infraction. Even poison, once given, is a gift. And here's my last poem. I'm a New Yorker. I was born and raised here. I'm living in Brooklyn, and it's my favorite place in the world. I am incredibly obnoxious about it. And I've been missing my city because it hasn't felt the same. So this is kind of my ode to that. And again, my father. This is Losing His Cool. On Thursday nights, as the Lower East Side speaks with all of its mouths at once, the legions of 20-somethings marching up and down East Houston, the girls with cut off tops and tiny doll purses and skirts that inch up their thighs, and the boys with necklines that dip down the chest and too tight jeans. My father feels all his years catch up to him at once, and the good old days pile up behind him like a stack of old photographs. So when a group of them, all speaking over each other, the girls absently swaying with the same wave of their hips, the boys bobbing coolly along the outskirts with nowhere to be, nothing but time, practically walk right through him. He wonders if he can steal time back. Comb up the high top fade till it tests the door frame, sport the black Adidas tracksuit and the marching kicks, tongue popped and spotless, that kind of fly. Can he steal it all back? Maybe if he grabs a shot at the crowded bar where the music numbs his ears into a wordless hum. If he goes to the indie art film where everything is a collage of sex and nothing. If he goes to the club packed with bodies that throng and pulse until he swears the beat is coming from inside his chest, is it? And the sweat, everywhere like rain, but everywhere thirst and unending hunger. He just wants a bag of Doritos and a Coke for $1. Wants to be nudged by his buddies into a dive bar buzzed with life and women, just like they did when he was young and unstoppable, stupid without consequences. Nothing to his name but a comb, some bus fare, and a whole lot of back talk. He just needs one more chance at this. At 19, in a bar on a Thursday night, to see the years fanned out before him like a hand of cards, the royal flush, the best of all possible futures, he in each one, still there, still living. Not for the fashion, or the cheap buzz, or even the cool no. He'd trade his rest in peace, the forgiveness of the grave for this. To be unafraid, to be able to go into the night and return unscathed. All right, thank you all. I'm gonna introduce my guest, Aria Aber, who we are Twitter friends, but I think this might be the first time we're actually meeting face-to-face-ish. So I'm so excited to hear her read. I'm such a fan of her poems. And I'm not just a fan of her because she shares my very nerdy affection for Sailor Moon. But her debut book, Hard Damage, won the Prairie Schooner Book Prize in Poetry and came out the same month as mine, September 2019. And it's been an honor to be in the same group of peers and in the same writing space. Aria's poems feel just hungry for the world, fluent in all of its wonders and symbols and transformations. And she's won a lot of prizes. She's a graduate of the NYU MFA program in creative writing and has had poems published in the New Yorker, New Republic, Kenyon Review, the Yale Review, Muzzle, and more. And this year she won the very, very impressive Whiting Award in Poetry. So she is a big deal and I'm excited to hear her. So here's Aria.
Thank you, Maya, for this lovely introduction. And yeah, it's exciting to meet you on Zoom, finally. And thank you, everyone, for curating this reading. It's been such a joy to hear everyone read and to share this space together in our really weird debut years. I'll be reading 2 poems. I grew up in Europe, so both poems are more or less set in various cities in Europe. Reading Rilke in Berlin. Into English, I splintered the way my father clutched his valise at the airport, defeated and un-American. It took me 12 strange springs to know nothing occurs out of a sudden. How do I let it go? Little has been purloined from me, and the ghosts of childhood still sibilate, by which I mean nobody has touched me on my innermost parts. At the accent reduction class, my teacher instructed me to invert my tongue like an love, so I lay at a pavement, under your elegy, in a bridge. Such starkness, the want to put inside me a perfect sentence. What would have Lou Salome done? I absolved every year around the sun, knowing that there is an animal smell hooked to a line leading past a border I am not going to cross. But what is exile exactly? What exactitude? Father says hour for hour, allo for hello. Father says is good, don't come back, eat food, green card. If I could explain to him the difference between exist and exit, maybe others too will hear the law in a law. When they asked my mother, where are you from? She smiled and replied, fine, how are you? Oh, I shoved my hand right through the officer's mouth and ripped out his tongue. Then under my pillow, I placed it and waited for it to bloom new my blood. The next poem is set in Paris. And I feel like most people in the United States have a very romanticized vision of what Paris is like. But as a refugee kid, I kind of like, every time we went there, I just saw the underbelly of it and how many immigrants there are, how dirty the outskirts and the inner parts of the districts are. And my version of Paris is just completely different than what is portrayed in the media. So this is about my hate-love relationship to Paris. Afghan funeral in Paris. The aunts here clink Malbec glasses and parade their grief with musky, expensive scents that whisper in elevators and hallways. Each natural passing articulates the unnatural. Every aunt has a son who fell or a daughter who hid in rubble for 2 years until that knock of officers holding a bin bag filled with a dress and bones. But what do I know? I get pedicures and eat madeleines while reading Swan's Way. When I tell one aunt I'd like to go back, she screams, "It is not yours to want." "Have some cream cheese with that," says another. Oh, what wonder to be alive and see my father's footprints in his sister's garden. He's furiously scissoring the hyacinths, saying all the time when the tele-researcher asks him, how often do you think your life is a mistake? During the procession, the aunts' wails vibrate, wires full of crows and heavy wind. I hate every plumed minute of it. God invented everything out of nothing, but the nothing shines through, said Paul Valéry. Paris never charmed me, but when some stranger asks if it stinks in Afghanistan, I am so shocked that I hug him. And he lets me, his ankles briefly brushing against mine. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I'm so floored by all of the readings that have taken place tonight. And thank you so much, Aria. I'm just like, 2019 was a great year for books, and Hard Damage was like amongst my favorites. I returned to it again and again. So it was such a treat to hear you read. And thank you so much, Maya, and just everybody. I'm super beyond honored to introduce our final guest curator, Anthony Cody. Anthony is the winner of 2018 Omnidon Open Book Contest and finalist for the National Book Award in Poetry. Anthony's debut collection, Borderland Apocrypha, was published by Omnidon in April of 2020. His poetry has appeared in the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day, Gulf Coast, Ninth Letter, among other journals. He is a recent MFA creative writing graduate from Fresno State, where he continues to collaborate with Juan Felipe Herrera, who has said about Borderland Apocrypha, "Bravo for these compassionate and brutal time spaces, this bristling land voice, an exemplar of a bursting literature. Everything starts over now." Anthony has received fellowships from Canto Mundo, Community of Writers, and Desert Night Rising Stars Conference. He provides communication support to Canto Mundo and serves as an associate poetry editor for Noemi Press. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Anthony. I can't wait to hear from you and your invitees.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, I just want to say that today I'm reading from the traditional lands of the Yokuts. I pay my respect to my native elders, both past and present, and to the land. And may each of us present tonight, both reading and listening, honor our lands in which we reside. Thank you so much for that introduction, Gio, and it's been a joy to collaborate with you and Emma in trying to launch books during this really, really difficult time. I'm honored to co-curate with Maya and Kelly Grace, as well as Maya. And also, I just want to take a second just to really honor all of the things that we have gained and lost in this time. It really has been difficult to launch a book, but that's really a minuscule thing in the larger context of the loss and really seismic shift that we are collectively trying to undertake. So I'm honored to kind of just have a moment of just silence and honoring those who have passed in this time and just understanding where we go from here. So just a brief moment of silence. Thank you so much. I also want to say that I'm really honored to invite Leah as well as Jennifer here with me to read amongst all of you. All of your poetry has been stellar, and it's just a joy for this to be my final reading of the year, to be here with all of you. I'll just read two poems. Something from the beginning and something from the end of my collection. The opening poems really situate an experience I had while trying to get a passport photo taken. Just the white dude wanted to like be microaggressive at me and just kind of call into question what I was doing. Was I trying to leave this country? Was I trying to escape? Was I afraid? All of those moments that just kind of weigh on you. And it kind of helped establish sort of a cosmology of where I would go with this collection. So thanks to that sucker, I got to really put the finishing touches on a book, which really centers about the microaggressions, the violences, the lynchings of the Southwest after the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. This first poem is titled, "A Passport Photo Asks Me to 2x2 myself and capture what I am in neutral. And I recall I have yet to see the chamber of my heart turn tusk. A passport photo should be mailed to the federal government with my birth certificate, and I wonder if they will return. Consider the power of printed paper. Asks me daily, am I brown? Am I white? Am I? I am. Am I? I am. I am. I wonder when the tense transitions. 2x2 myself, a neat shape, raises no questions and tells you no lies. Capture what I am in neutral. I have yet to see a sunrise in the shadow or a child birth itself from the inside of the Joshua tree. And this does not mean it is not possible. The chamber of my heart is a quiet, quiet, the outside of a pulse driving into fire. Turn tusk, turn dusk, turn day, turn lengua, turn franca, turn español, turn sombra, así, atrás, allí, acá, to here. Yes, here. Yes, here it is dark. Again, it's an honor to read with you all, and I'm just super blessed to have this time to share with you all. And I'll close my portion of this reading with the title poem, Borderland Apocrypha, which really is trying to work through all of that trauma and seeking a wholeness for us and how we kind of take back and reclaim the things that we have lost towards the future. If your father tells you and your teacher tells you and the pastor at your family's church tells you to perceive breath for existing, heart for source, grave as final, voice as kingdom, and the shaking as the escape of the earth's heat, you believe the repetition. But don't. Believe that earthquakes are fed by the buried, shoulders leaning in and sinewed by the unseen, combative to covert. Recall that beneath you, nothing is still. Recall that beneath you are the others. No, there is no such thing as living. Living is a birth to control you, to fear no longer being present, to fear this, whatever your this is, can leave you. The night's knuckle on your door is not consent, but a decay of the ego, unheard. A nearness unknown until an apnea arrives, tearing you from bed for the noose, the blade, the bullet, the fingers forcing the larynx. You were never living. Your father will tell you, the priest and prophet and the succulent on the windowsill will not stop you and say, you are not living. You are present. Some tomorrow there will be no sunrise. None will say, where is, where is, where is? They will believe you are no longer. Your blood will mourn. The other will gather to publicly demonstrate. Life is proprietary. Do not listen. Join the present at the tectonic and continue to be. Push. Press your ear against the mantle to hear the sound of the pavement's rupture. Push. The city will not sleep. Push. The flora fauna stone nod. You have always been present. Push. A valley is quiet whether cradling or culling. Push. The television and the paper will say the fault is active. Push. The scientists will diagram the earth halved and demonstrate why nothing remains static. Push. The present remain here. Push. Here. Push. Here. Push. Leave. Return. You exist. Push. You are present. Push. Swallow them into quiet. Thank you. Now I'll transition. I'll take off my very intense, serious reading hat, and just really honored to invite both Jennifer and Leah here tonight to read with us. I'll start with Jennifer. She'll be going first. I really love her collection, Near At. It's both past, present, memory, forgetting, here, now, in the moment, the I. So much is happening. And I thought throughout different times of the year, I'm like, there has to be a way sometime that we can make this happen. And I'm glad that it has happened. This is a little bit about Jennifer. Jennifer Soong is the author of Near At, published by Future Poem. Her poems have appeared in Berkeley Poetry Review, Panda's Friend, Colorado Review, Social Text, Earthbound Press, among others. Her chapbook, When I Ask My Friend, is forthcoming in a collaborative project with Daniel Owen at Double Cross Press. She is also an English doctoral candidate at Princeton, where she is completing a dissertation on poetry and forgetting. Let's give it up for Jennifer.
Don't get me started to break me. How do you know the poison of my mind isn't running through you? Just now, I've seen it. Dark brain areas, bleary meat with a special stink light up. What have you to say? What of your flesh have you got to make your flesh disappear? I know, something smart, compatible, someone quick. Invent the emoji with the nosebleed. I'm lucky this is only a portrait of my prosthetic movie face. The shape of my eyes is like a capsized rowboat. Maybe I'm angry underneath. How are you not? If you think all poets are your friends, think again. Who put the bomb on silent? And who's got the fancy parents? Who admitted me? Admit it. I don't want your check, stolen power for normalcy, and everything keeps changing while never understanding the inexplicable pain in my right nostril. I hope one day I can aspire to fuck all my affiliations. They have you thinking otherwise, thinking your intellectual, spiritual being depends on it. But remember, thank you, Anthony, for that introduction, and just the curators for putting this together. I'll just read one more poem from Near-At, and it's called Scrape Me From Your Mind and Urge. Scrape me from your mind, and urge is the time, but crueler. Can't you hear the damage now? The shock, held down by whirls of night thoughts intermingling. Our lives merged without shifting lanes, the contour outlined like a Basquiat, where skull shards are sewn up, sun-slabbed in a high voltage cadmium. Don't pick at the scab. I know you desperately want to because of that terrible chafing beneath the cortical surface. But subterranean is where memories these are most at ease. You once asked, how far must I go before I call this war my own? All through the forest, you searched for the painted cherries, buoyant bunches, and the original legends. The glittering kaleidoscope weakened the eyes. Through the trees, the sun came in hexagons. You slipped the severed cities into sleeves and slit roads, long letters to everyone who left the deep cove of evergreens for the great urban epiphany. For months, no one responded. What myth is there but the one you construct? I need style to be a mythical creature, but still I wanted and believed in a unified self. Didn't the poets pass us down and pass down the seeds of sorrow too? If words still take away so carefully the world, have them look our way at least. Hey, are you listening to the world happen? No one told the trees which way to grow. They readily loved, made sweet their own time. Down at the fruit-filled roads where baby peaches fall to their sound, looking as young gifts or clothed happiness do, all things are eventually taken, all things eventually asked. But if tomorrow the world crosses this way, starved for extinct breeds, let them know we let down arms for the suspension of low hollies held between. Nothing is ever just a look. It is always an affair, and time takes us everywhere down in its book. I scribble down another if, one that might catch me in its impenetrable look, hold me for just a lifetime long. Should it end here, I wouldn't mind too much. It's happened before to art, love, America, God, and all the kids are traveling to India these days. But who would I encounter? Who it was that was? I thought she might come back, pick up what goods I forgot, paid for at the self-checkout station. There's nothing worse than walking with no shadow. But the occasional high beam isn't canopus after all, and the moon keeps breaking up on me. Oh, Dr. Neon, solve my migraine. Dr. Neon, they keep your motion sensor methods awake all night. From the other side of sealed sliding doors, I see the lettuce heads beginning to limp. The waxed hams suffocate through the plastic. Toucan Sam after Toucan Sam. The rain is red and dripping, dot matrices in myopia. Under 44th Street, I heard your expenditures cling to the clock's last digits. What sensitivities do I owe? I'm shaking off your debt. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Jennifer. I also have the privilege of introducing Leah, and it's really funny because Leah and I worked together on her book. So I remember when I hit up the Debut Revue, I was like, is it cool if I like invite someone who like I edited their book with them and stuff? Because this is like it's a very sacred thing to work with someone on their book. And it was a pleasure to work with her. And I'm super honored to bring Inland Empire here tonight. It's the myth making, the imagined, the real, the colonizing of California and histories. Something that's very personal to me, being also born here in California. So I'll read Leah's bio and we'll go from there. Leah Huizar is a Mexican-American writer and poet. Originally from Southern California, her writing and research centers on the cultural and historic landscape of the West Coast and the ways in which gender, religion, and colonization have shaped it. Her work has been published in the Crab Orchard Review, Nimrod International Journal, Acentos Review, and elsewhere. Her debut collection of poems, Inland Empire, was published by Tommye Press in 2019. She holds an MFA from Penn State and is an assistant professor of English at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. She can be found online at leahhuizar.com. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for inviting me here. And thank you to the Debut Revue organizers for having this amazing, amazing night. I'm going to just jump right into it. So this first poem is Listening to Ghosts. The ghost who lived with my grandparents took hot showers, ran down hallways, even napped beside my grandmother. Shut up, don't say anything, she'd hush. Then lean near me and tell how the mattress sank and its breath swept behind her neck. Later, when my grandmother became a widow, she left that house and kept cautioning her grandkids to love God and go to sleep before midnight, for after nightfall, a cursed woman would steal wide-awake children. Perhaps it is because of this early belief, I can't shake the sense that once my mother saved me when a locked pantry's high latch shut me in with a clack. Shuddering, she grabbed me and fled the for-rent apartment, left the front door ajar, same as our arrival. For 2 decades, I lived 5 blocks from there, and we never passed that street again. My grandfather, too, I only truly knew as ghost conjured in final legend. For a week after he died, he dimmed my mother's doorway, wanting to say before his shadow fled, "Take care of your mother." I tell my mother I doubt our family fables, irrational epimethinium appending the past, specters bred as much in the bone as any shadow. I cannot escape the shape of them. Even now, I'm followed in thought by the original ghost. It would whistle at my aunt, changing in the guest room, a pig for a ghost. I'm cast into the past, in their house and its wounds. Whose unresolved memory is it when I tell you there was an actual pig too, the beloved pet of an aunt? It expired one too hot day during its leashed walk uphill. I have no other tether or moral for this but to say they ate the pig through a party. My aunt cried. Do I then dare deny these voices when even as I write, no other words come but take care, love. God, don't say anything. And the next poem, Liturgy. Beside the garbage cans where no one goes on purpose, the unkept lawn grows weed hardy, the hill breezes in star thistle clumping on patch grass dirt, dandelions sway in stages of dispersion. On a warm, clear day, for how many years just like this, I carry these bags. The roof slice light marks half this body, puffed up in familiar ceremony. Something in me stirs that earthbound invocation, saying, unweed me, son, unweed me, too. What is the word for the fixed core of the mutable? 3. What a neighbor wrote in public. There used to be just the right amount of Mexicans. Now they are everywhere I turn. Imagine 10 years, 15. Imagine how deep that root. And the last poem, Family Medicine. Rosemary balms wound and works as a germicide. Lemon quells coughs. lemon or honey quells coughs, lemon cuts phlegm. When suffering, take refuge with the good herb, yerba buena of the backyard garden, unstoppable spreading. When gathered the mint to simmer in an open pot, made it our tea with rings of citrus rind and lemongrass cut from outside next to the spigot. According to the collected wisdom, some use yerba buena for stomach aches, for gout, yerba buena for headaches, sore gums, pleurisy, rheumatism, hirsutism, pneumonia, nausea, birth pains, sedative, stimulant, antiseptic, anesthetic, diuretic. Yes, yerba buena, the anodyne applied to burns, the febrifuge ingested for boiling skin, pimples pass away, poison ivy doesn't itch, insomnia closes its eyes. Yerba buena, cure of colic, hiccups, and heart palpitation, herb of aphrodisiac, breath freshener, insect repellent. Subsume each malady in its perfume, find healing that smells like spearmint, taste like the paste mama clotted on the flesh's first tear. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Leah and Anthony and Jennifer. That was just an incredible note to end on. And we feel so lucky to have your voices here. And thank you so much to all of our readers. It's just been such a pleasure and an honor to hear from each one of you. And I just wanted to sort of share a final toast to all of your debut collections. I wish we were celebrating them in person, but I'm so grateful that we can have them here with us tonight. For everyone watching, we hope you'll consider buying these books and spreading the word on social media. And we also wanted to add that we are accepting donations to help us cover our website hosting and our Zoom account, but most importantly, to help us pay our readers in our normal monthly event series. We are sort of planning ahead for the new year, and if you're able to donate, please do, but of course, please prioritize buying a book and donating to all of the many current causes and mutual aids out there. Thank you again so much for coming. I'll pass it over.
Yeah, and we'll stay tuned to our Twitter for an announcement about January's reading. And if you enjoyed what you heard, please consider purchasing or requesting our readers' books at your local library or on our links that we'll have below. And thank you again, everyone. One final round of applause for all of our readers, guest curators, and yourselves for sharing this virtual space with us tonight. See you in 2021.
Thank you all so much. Have a great night. Bye.